Hi. So I have a homework assignment and I have hesitated to do it because I wanted to be sure if this is the conscious story I wanted to tell. And I, I think I should because it's the whole reason why I'm here. So here goes. Nothing. Um, uh, to start off with, or to start my story off with, I'd like to say that I was raised in a different generation. I was raised by my grandparents, my grandmother, and her, and I had as an added benefit, she had 11 brothers and sisters, um, all of which um, had a hand in raising me. And so you can imagine as being one of the oldest of all the siblings that occurred after the fact kind of thing. I had the added advantage of growing up with these older people. And as they took care of me growing up, there's also, unfortunately, we watch them pass away as they grow older, as they, this becomes their next something that's accepted. And they all kind of slowly passed away. My grandmother was one of the youngest and passed away a while ago as well. And so but you get the idea, is that you watch them disappear out of your life. And I never thought much of it. It just is what it is. And at the time, as I continue on, fast forward, as I continue on in the story, one of the things that I had been doing was sleep learning. And sleep learning, I actually take upon myself mainly because I realize that when we're conscious and we are awake, we assign meanings to things. And so sometimes a book has a different meaning than what the author intended because we're superimposing our own projected meaning onto things. So we miss the point. And so when you're asleep, however, you can learn languages, you can do all kinds of things. You can teach yourself how to be an artist, you can teach yourself skills, you can read books, whatever the case may be, but you're very receptive and you're no longer assigning meaning. You're just taking it all in, just taking it all in. And so since I discovered that that is possible, I started consciously listening to playlists. I had made playlists. One of them was the Course in Miracles that I played over and over again for at least 10 months because that did help undo the illusion. And so for about 10 months straight, that's what I did over and over and over and over again. It played. And then, I also created other playlists. All kinds of people, Manly P. Hall, Stuart Wilde, Nona Brooks, Charles Haniel, anyone from the Christian Science movement, anyone from just all kinds of people. I would just play that I understood, I guess, their way of thinking because it kind of had been mine. So I wanted to adopt their way of thinking. And so I made it easy on myself and I played these playlists. And on one fine morning, I woke up and I was completely discombobulated. I noticed things were out of place. Things were different. They looked almost the same, but things were different. And like I would go for a walk and there would be neighborhoods that weren't there before. There was all kinds of funky little details that were just off from the night before, like really off. And I remember I started researching what is anyone else going through this? Am I the only one? And I found people that talked about the Mandela effect. I found people that said that they were from other dimensions. I found people that said they teleported and nobody believed them. And in a way, you could say that I could relate to all of those things, but that wasn't giving me the answer I was looking for. It just didn't explain all the nuances. And there was a lot of them, but the Mandela effect, or what people were calling the Mandela effect, was in fact kind of helping me sort of explain, but didn't, right? I gotta get to the bottom of what's going on. And so anyway, I remember distinctly, because I think it was Mother's Day, and this is why I'm telling this story. I think it was Mother's Day a few years ago when my cousin snapped a picture of herself and her mother and sent it to me and said, Happy Mom's Day, Happy Mother's Day today. And how do I even begin to describe it? That woman that was in the picture next to her right now had passed away 5 years ago, at least, if not 10, because I lose my sense of time because I'm always jumping in and out of time. So it could be longer than that, but I assure you she's been gone for several years. And so that was my moment where I had a choice. I had to decide. Have I completely lost my mind, or is there an explanation? And I'm not the type to just accept, I'm out of my mind, so I'm going to have to get an explanation. And so, I don't know. Like I mentioned, I had playlist. I had already stopped. I had already become aware of not paying attention to the programming on TV. And so what I would play was books on TV. And that's when all of a sudden I was listening to a Neville lecture. And he described a phenomenon in which he described the fact that none of us die. And he described the nature of what happens to us in between, and how we really just don't even know. And because I've had other experiences with people that have passed on, and I've seen them, and I could, all of a sudden I was like, that makes perfect sense. Like, really it does, but that didn't explain still why I was seeing her. It gave me a little bit of an explanation, but still didn't explain how come. And then I was confronted with another dilemma. The people that had said that they had landed in from another dimension, no matter what they did to try and tell people, no one believed them, right? So it's pointless. If you landed in a reality in which the person exists in this reality, they're not going to know the reality that you are trying to tell them was real to you. You follow the trajectory here, right? There's no way to explain this to anyone, right? Like, you can't go up to tell the aunt and be like, you're dead, and Neville actually would do that. He would tell people, but I buried you and here you are. And so I laugh because it was a real huge conscious moment for me, because I had no way to tell her, I just came from a reality where you don't exist anymore, but here you are, and I don't have an explanation for it, but I'm going to get to the bottom of it. And as I continued to understand what I had done, what I realized and what I learned was this. And this is the conscious moment. This is full circle back to explaining what happened. And here's the explanation and why I can explain it. What I did was I successfully rewired my brain into another set of rules or set of memories from which I get to play in 3D in. And in that reality that I had made, because Neville had given an explanation how the dead don't die and they just go on to the next world, that was programmed in. I was receptive to it. And therefore, I did. And so here's the bottom line. That moment for me proved that everything in our 3D world is a holograph. Is a holograph made from our patterns, our memory patterns, from the neurons that we work together and we put them into these things. It was proven beyond a shadow of a doubt for me. And I realized a bunch of things in that moment. First, we do not die. Second, our brain controls the reality that we're seeing. Third, we control that brain. Fourth, there's no reason to suffer. What? You can make anything. And I say this because it's so hard to describe this level of joy. And I realize that really, truly, if you're ever upset about anything, it's because you don't know who you are, what you can do, and how you can make it happen. Right? That's it. There's nothing else. There's no reason to be sad. There's no reason to be upset. There's nothing. And there are logical explanations for the things that I had. And that's why when I try to tell people, but the illusion's not real, they look at me like I'm the one that's asleep. They do. They look at me that way. And What can I say except, you're just seeing yourself. You're not listening to the words that I'm trying to tell you. I have proved this beyond the shadow of a doubt that there's no freaking possible other explanation other than we create the reality with what we put in this little thing right here, this. And anyway, but the reason that I'm sharing this conscious story specifically is because it's the reason that I joined this novel class. It is the reason, because I needed to better explain what had occurred to me, and I've been reverse engineering it the whole time. And it's like I know beyond a shadow of a doubt, and others are discovering it, and I know that they will. But it's an interesting dynamic to have fallen into it by accident. I know it's not an accident. If anything, now I know I probably planned all of this, and I'm meant to have this amazing discovery, and then I'm meant to share it with the world, of course. But my point is that the reason that I'm no longer fooled by the illusion, and I can't be ever again, is because I did the impossible. And I created a whole new reality and dimension for me to live in that was nothing like the one I left behind. It was very similar, but I literally transcended the matter in my head, made a new hologram, and live in that. That's so huge. That is huge. Like, you can never be sad, you can never be upset, how can you be when you've discovered the greatest, it's not even the greatest discovery since the beginning of time, but it is. And I'm laughing because it's true. It's like, it's not even a discovery. And what I mean to say is, it's not because every spiritual person tried to say this and sum this up, and we misunderstood them instead of accepting their message. And I promise you that none of it is real, that everything is a self-reflection, and that you control this reality this way. And instead of freaking out my aunt by telling her, you used to be dead, because I won't even bother. But I can say, nope, she didn't die. That was the hologram that occurred in my old reality that I successfully transcended when I went through the wormhole that was in myself and realized that we have a quantum reality existing within, and we can transverse it at will. And we're doing so unconsciously, but we don't realize that we do this every single day. And so those of us that are consciously aware of it have the ability to go between any realm we choose. We make anything we want. We have full dominion over everything. Why? Because we understand the secret sauce. It's made up here. It's whatever we convince ourselves right here. Okay? And I say this because I realize now, it wasn't that I didn't believe in the kingdom of heaven. I was told that the kingdom of heaven is something that occurs after we die. And I was told that was my reward for living a good life. And I was told all of this nonsense, that this place existed outside of myself, that it, I was told all of this stuff. And not 1 ounce of it was real. It was bull. And the reality is that heaven is here and now. And the only way to see it is to heal yourself whole and fall in love with what you are and who you are and what you make and everything that you are and everything that you see. And it's so hard to describe, but once you see it, you can't unsee it. And it creates a different reality. It creates a different reality. I'm not making this up. I wish I could. I'm standing here ready to be judged by everyone who's going to think I'm nuts. I don't care. Doesn't change my experience. It doesn't. And so that's why I'm sharing today. That is my conscious story. It was too much to write, so I made a video and I'm going to share it. Ask away, ask questions. Feel free to reach out to me and ask me to explain further. I would do my best. But yes, the reason I speak with such certainty is because I proved it to myself without even trying. I mean, I guess you could say I had no idea what was going to happen, and I walked through this door and suddenly the world made sense. It's a good place. You know, I don't know, like, how do I even ground from that? I can't. Like, it's a genuine joy. It's a genuine smile. It's a genuine love that pours out of you because you're no longer trapped in the illusion we made for ourselves. That's real freedom. That's real freedom. It's called fearless living. And I got that. All right, guys. Thank you for allowing me to share. I hope I did that right. I hope I explained my conscious story correctly. Bye.